food today. We've got a special guest with us today. So let me just invite Justin Leppitsch into our room. Here we are. Invitation sent. So I can't wait to introduce you guys. So Justin will be joining me in a moment. We've just sent the invitation through. For anyone who doesn't know Justin Leppitsch. Oh, here we are. Hi.
Okay.
How are you?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Hi. Very good. So I was just doing the formal introduction. So for anyone who's
Awesome.
not a huge footy fan, you're a 3 times premiership flag winner, assistant Collingwood coach,
Yes.
and
I'm
you got the
merching.
Collingwood gear.
Yes, I'm
Yeah,
merching.
I've got, look, we've got a Collingwood supporter in the
Oh,
house, my
beautiful.
husband.
Beautiful.
So, yeah, very excited to have you online today. Now, firstly, I'm sure everyone actually wants to know who's your tip for the flag this year.
I'm tipping Melbourne only because I've tipped them since mid-year, but I'm not sure. It's going to be a close game. I think it could even go to overtime. It's going to be, it's going to be a good game, I think. So.
Awesome. And what about the Norm Smith? What are you thinking there?
Okay. It usually goes to a midfielder, but I'm hoping it's someone like Jake Lever or someone like that, a defender, finally get some kudos in the world. But we'll wait and see, hey? What are you tipping,
Sounds
Kate?
good. Well, I'm tipping Melbourne as well.
Yeah.
And I think for the Norm Smith, maybe Clayton Oliver. So,
Okay. Yeah. That's a good.
yeah,
That's actually, that's good. Yeah.
pretty excited actually. It's
I
the
put
first
it.
lockdown entertainment, really.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. But no, they're good tips. I'd put a few bucks on that. That'll work well.
Awesome. Well, that's where I'm off to next. So tell us about, well, I guess last year you were in the bubble, right? So in the prep for the premiership, like how the family's going to be feeling in the bubble? Because you lived through that. That must be pretty crazy.
Yeah, I think they've got more freedoms now, which is good. I think once they got through the quarantine period, which is quite difficult to do, 2 weeks in relative isolation, I think that's fine. They can just join general population and live as a Western Australian. So I think that's the benefit that we didn't quite have last year. We were pretty much confined to a hotel and had our food given to us.
Yes. How was that food actually?
Oh, it wasn't too bad, but everything was in either in plastic bags. Like even a banana was wrapped in plastic. So I don't know, go figure. It's already, the food itself's already wrapped. So, but I think everyone was probably overcautious through COVID during that period and taking extra steps. But I think the families will be a little bit happier now with what Perth is doing as opposed to last year's setup.
Yeah, sounds good. Now, your weight loss journey. So I couldn't believe it when I saw you post the other day, 5.75 kilos in 7 days. And I know it's hard. You tell me, how did you go? How did you do it? And how hard was it really?
Oh, it was difficult. I hadn't had scales in our house for 8-10 years probably. I can't remember the last time we had scales in our house, and never sort of like to use the measurement, but you need the measurement to know where you're at. So it was one thing it did is it gave me that starting point, and I thought I'd be around about 108 kilos starting it. I was actually 114 and a half, and that's pretty embarrassing to admit, but I hadn't, again, weighed myself for so long, I'd only guessed. So that was a bit of a wake-up call. So obviously I had a fair bit to sort of lose to start with, and now I'm back to that now, what I thought I actually was, just by doing the week challenge. So that's so the first part was shock, and I needed it. Getting out of the habits, breaking those was definitely the hardest part, no doubt.
What were your bad habits? What were the things that you really needed to break?
I probably COVID things. Walk to the fridge, grab something, just constantly. Just cause you're home. Just whatever it is. Slice of ham, keep moving. Something else, keep moving. Like that was one part of it. The other one I blamed my wife Christy for, which is drinking wine with her every couple of nights.
Definitely her fault. I'm sure that had nothing to do with you.
I didn't want to do it. She made me do it, but it made her stop me, forcing me to drink wine. So that was awesome. Coffee, I'd be anywhere from 2 to 4 lattes a day, something like that. And often, again, out of boredom or, someone else is getting one. I'll have one, that sort of thing. So they're the sorts of things that took away straight away. So that was
Were you a sugar in your coffee
yeah,
before this?
one sugar in each time. So
Okay.
I'd be out and I just grab sushi for lunch all the time. So stuff like that. So just not thinking things as well. So that was good. It took me 2 days to get over that, to be honest. 2 or 3 days just to get through that little bit of the craving stuff. That was probably the bit that took my body just to go, which is what you need to do, you know, to get through that. You know, your body's sort of been craving it a little bit, particularly the sugar part of it. And then once I got through the first couple of days, that it's not an issue. And I know I had a latte this morning with no sugar, and I like it. It's actually, I don't even need it. So there's a few things I've just kept on.
And I think that's, I guess, when you're doing the program too, if your body's used to having sort of the carbs all day, you've got these up and down blood sugar levels, and it takes about 2 to 4 days to actually get into ketosis. So that first couple of days, your brain is craving sugars or carbs because it's used to getting these big hits and these ups and downs. And once you get into ketosis, that's when you start burning your own body fat as an energy source. You get more stable energy levels, and it is hard. If people can't get past those first 2 to 4 days, that's often where they kind of pull out. But you saw the results in 7 days. And I think that's, you know, if people can hang in there for 1 to 2 weeks, and they're going to get some pretty good results. And I think, you know, if you're able to do it as a male that's active and busy lifestyle, all of that, it's just not that hard. It's just about getting started.
Yeah, and I didn't do a heap. Obviously, with no gyms open and things like that, I walked, and there's probably 2 days I walked close to 10 kilometres, and the rest were closer to 6 or 7. There's a couple of days I missed. So that was only the limit of the exercise. I didn't bust my gut either at any of those stages. So once I get back to training and gyms open and things, I can actually, you know, refine that even more. So that's the good thing to look forward to.
Yeah. And I think, look, the big thing is knowing as well that you were hitting, like, you've got to hit your protein targets. A lot of people go on these crazy fad diets, and whether it's a juice cleanse or it's a shake diet or something like that, and they actually forget about eating whole food first and foremost to get, you know, the vitamins and minerals. But secondly, our bodies only absorb about 30 grams of protein every 2 to 3 hours. So, you know, a lot of times people sit down to, you know, a big plate of chicken or steak or this or that, not realizing that our body's actually not going to process it like that. So if we want optimal results, we've got to make sure we're eating the small meals with the right stuff in them more often. And I can see someone posted about a reset, and I think apart from the reset in your weight, what about mindset? So you said you broke the habits with the lattes, you cut that back, got the sugar out of the lattes, the wine a little bit, but any other sort of habits? You say going to the fridge at home, but
they're all the main ones I would have thought. That I had. I wasn't. Yeah, again, I know it's also too. Because I was doing some work in the gym, I used to think, oh well, you know, I'm sure whatever I eat doesn't really matter because I'll equal it out. But I think as you get older as well, it ain't the truth. But portion control was the part, you just mentioned it. I think that, you know, the first little bit, I thought, well, I feel like I'm a car and I'm only filling up to halfway. And then getting back to zero, back to halfway, back to zero sort of thing. So it was weird not eating to being full. And it took a few days. That was a part of the few days of adjustment as well. Then I realised I probably, just in doing it, that I could have added more vegetables to the meal as well, just to give it a bit more bulkier, being a bit bigger guy. And so I did that after a couple of days, and then that feeling.
So what were you putting with it? What were you doing generally at meals?
I sliced up a heap of vegetables and I had them to the side. And I just add a couple of cups to it, as the dietitian told me, and with the vegetables that are on the approved vegetables that are on the sheet there that we have. And I just add them and stir fry them, and then throw the meal in after, and stir it in for an extra minute, and then eat it. It's as simple as that. So that made it a little bit bulkier for me, and also kept the weight going too. So it didn't really affect anything as well. Because there was times earlier I was thinking, maybe should hold out a bit longer, hold out. But and also too, for my meal, I was choosing things like a protein ball for a snack, and then I'd have like the juice for lunch, and then I'd have another protein ball as a snack. And I was like, oh, that's so. Whilst they're all one meal, I was like, they all weren't probably meaty enough. I needed a, you know what I mean?
Proper meal.
I need to actually put a proper meal in the middle there if I was going to have lighter snacks. So, so all those sorts of things I worked out after a few days, and it was too easy.
Unreal. And we know with men as well, you've got a 30% higher metabolic rate than females, right? So you can actually
lucky, hey?
I know. You can have 30% more food and still lose the same amount of weight or even more. Now, I know you did the challenge with your wife, Christy, and she also had unbelievable results. And hers wasn't about the weight change, but her shape changed unbelievably in a week. Like, it was quite mind-blowing, actually.
She lost 2.5 kilos. I don't know where from. I guess
no, neither. I was like, you've got no weight to lose, but her shape honestly changed.
Yeah, it is. It definitely did. So she was pumped with that. So and that's the thing, and probably by percentage, she's probably half my weight. So again, probably why she lost half the amount. So it's
true.
Yeah, so that's on a percentage, it was probably a similar number.
And what was one of your favourite meals?
I love the feta bowl and the baked bean and feta bowl.
Baked bean feta bowl.
Yeah, I've continued on to do the breakfast lunch stuff. But the baked bean feta bowl, where I said I add the extra vegetables and have that. That's one of my favourites. I had a little trick where I'd actually take all the feta off the top of it first before I stir fried it, obviously, because it was getting a bit cheesy. Hard to clean the pan. Yeah, so I took it off the top and then put it together with the vegetables and then put it on at the end. And brilliant. That's I love the lasagna as well. They're probably
they're my husband's two favourite. Absolutely. Yeah.
And the eggs were good too. So the same thing again. I just had extra veg and there's a
put them in a pan to heat them up.
I pan heated them. Yeah, defrosted it right down and then pan heated it. So I found that was the best way to do it. The weirdest thing is I was actually having hot meals in my life more than I'd ever had in my life. Because it was actually quite nice. I was having it almost for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, warm meals. And often, as I said, I'm taking away sushi or whatever. So it's cool so the actual food itself was beautiful. I found it really tasty and nice. So that wasn't an issue, which I was concerned about at the start, thinking, I know what this is going to be like. But actually, that part was good. So
awesome, and it's only going to get better. We've got new packaging that can go in the air fryer now, so you don't need to worry about your dishes. Chuck it in the oven, chuck it in the air fryer, heat it up. That's not coming until November, but it'll make it easier too. So awesome. Well, last question, I guess. So for Collingwood, what are you going to do next? What's going to happen next year? How are you?
The pies for the flag? What do you think?
I hope so. Yeah.
Oh, well,
I don't want my husband to cry again. We went to the last one. Wasn't good.
Yeah. I think we don't want to put a ceiling on what can happen. I think that's the most important. It's probably like your weight loss diet. You don't want to put a ceiling on what you can do. It's about, because a lot of it too, we won't know for a year. You think you know from the outside, and then you get stuck into it and you realise, I've got to focus on this area or that area or things like that. But the first impressions have been terrific. I haven't been able to get into the work yet because of COVID. They're not really opening until November, but I've been able to speak with some players, and they're really motivated and ready to go. So that's good. That's a good starting point. So fingers crossed. I think we'll climb the ladder, but it's just where we'll finish. We'll wait and see.
And were you a local Peninsula boy when you started? Were you in the Stingrays as well?
I was, I grew up in Berwick though, so not the other side. So they were still connected, even though Berwick's not quite on the peninsula. But my parents moved here, so that's why we ended up moving down to the peninsula in 2010. So it's a beautiful part of the world, isn't it?
It is. I'm just thinking this because I heard Craig Black's over at Collingwood with you. Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
So I did work with the Stingrays boys. So
okay.
There you go. Yeah.
Well, we'll have to get you in that Collingwood case.
Come. strip that body fat off in the pre-season. 5
Well, it's
kilos
funny.
in a
It's
week
funny.
you've done.
Yeah, well, it's funny. One of the assistant coaches at Richmond rang me. He's going to jump on it too now. I think one thing it's good
Oh,
for men is particularly, and there's one of the players as well, maybe or Joel, who just got recruited to the Gold Coast. He's really keen to do it as well. Now, I think one of the good things for footballers or coaches in our industry is that because we've got that D-Day to come back, you know, where you've got to be in shape, ready to go. It's almost like perfect, you know, for people that want to have an off season and have a relax to go, well, I'm going to do then 2 hard weeks before I get back to, you know, because we've got active jobs. We have to be out there with the players and, you know, and we can't be fat slobs or anything like that. You know, we've got to at least be active in our roles. So would be a terrific way for coaches to sort of get into their coaching pre-season as well.
And it's the habits.
Yeah, and the habits, and change the habits. And I said, I'm in good habits now, so I'm happy with that, and I don't want to break that. So I've continued to do the breakfast and the lunch and the dinner. So last night we had steak and salad still. I'm still not doing the carbs, but I might have had a little bit more steak than I would have had, Kate. But,
that's okay. That's okay. You deserve it. You've done unbelievably well. But the carbs, my rule is really 2 tablespoons per meal if you can. Like, you don't cut it out completely, but just don't go overboard, because as soon as you get over the age of sort of 40, metabolism really starts to slow. And it's the carbs that is really the damaging part, because you can't exercise off a bad diet. So if you can keep carbs down, then you actually go in and out of this fat burning or ketosis state. And that's maintenance. So maintenance is just making sure that you have that intermittent fasting. So do your best to have at least a 12 or 16-hour fast here or there. And particularly if you've had a big weekend or had too much, you know, if you had some beers or something like that, you've got to have that fast to get your liver working properly, burn the body fat back again. And then with your meals, just keep the carbs low, keep it to small amounts. And, you know, that's good for your gut health. That'll build up a healthy gut microbiome, but all your low starch veggies do that as well. And then the protein, just make sure you've got protein at every meal and snack. That'll keep you satiated. And it's the carbs that play havoc with the brain. They actually stimulate serotonin, your happiness hormone. And if you have too much carbs in your diet, what you tend to find is you get happiness from carbs, and then when your blood sugar levels go down, you start to feel sad and you've got to eat again. And that's what sugar cravings come from. So by reducing your carbs, you reduce your sugar cravings, and you keep the body fat off, because you're burning your own body fat. So you guys didn't do ketone testing at all, did you?
No, it was around when I was at the Brisbane Lions. Some of the players were doing it. It became big. About maybe 5 years ago, 6 years ago, maybe it was talked about, and there's some guys doing it. And it's sort of, I haven't heard much of it recently, but I know a guy was talking about, is it called the 16-8 diet or whatever?
Intermittent fasting, 16-8.
So how often should you do that intermittent? Only if you feel like you've had a couple of days a week? Or?
I would say with intermittent fasting, look, for everyone, 12-hour fasting a day is good. You know, don't eat between 7 and 7, or 6 and 6, or 8 and 8, or whatever it is. If you can extend it to 16 hours at least a couple of times a week, there's actually health benefits in that. Some people find, though, that genetically, you know, they're not as suited to that. So they'd rather have smaller meals and get into ketosis and have 5-hour gaps between meals. But look, I always talk about, so when a baby is born between the age of 0 and 2 years, they're actually in ketosis the whole time, and they grow 5 times their size. So ketosis isn't dangerous if you do it with whole foods, you do it the right way, and you have the dietitian support. The dietitian support's free at BeFit Foods. So anyone that's, you know, got health conditions or whatever, check out the dietitian free services and chat to someone. But on the other hand, I'd say just for general health and fitness, your body has about 40 days worth of energy in fat stores, and that's just every normal human person. So we need water all the time to weigh out the ketones, keep hydrated. We need vitamins, minerals, plant-based foods. But as far as food goes, we've got plenty of body fat stores, and our only real problem is we don't tap into them as often as we should. So then we get that abdominal fat, and I think hopefully what you notice too is some of the weight actually goes off the tummy, because insulin, the fat storage hormone, pushes weight to our tummies. So BeFit Food is one of the programs that actually helps you to get weight from those hard to reach or the tummy areas, and that's where heart disease risk, all of diabetes risk goes up. So really important to have those fasting periods a few days a week.
Yeah, it's good. Well, that's a good little tip off too, to do, which I can introduce as well. But yeah, no, it's been really good. As I said, it's remotivated me a little bit into just getting. And now that I've sort of passed the point of the sugar cravings and things like that, you don't want to go back there. That's the
yes.
So there's no.
Well, that's the magic number. Apparently,
Yeah.
5 kilos is the magic number. So whether someone starts at 150 kilos or they start at 80 kilos, that 5 kilos is that magic number where people know they've changed. They've always lost a clothing size, and it's enough to not want to go back. So as soon as you beat that 5 kilos, you're more likely to stick to it. And the science has shown that rapid weight loss is actually more effective 2 years down the track than slow weight loss at actually keeping weight off. So the weight that you've lost, you're more likely to keep off now than if you did it over a month or so.
Yeah, okay. Well, the other question I had is, with weighing yourself, I actually did it first thing, wake up, straight on. So I did it the same time every time, so which is good to keep consistency. I assume that's the best way to do it, but is that the best time to do it? Does it matter when you do it, as long as you do it the same time each day? Because I found I would start low and then I'd go up. I could do it again during the day, and then by the next morning I'd be down below where I started originally. It's almost like a little, start here and then go up and then finish back down lower again. That's sort of how I weave throughout the day, I found.
That's a really good tip, actually. So my main thing with weighing is that you do it the same time every day in the same state. So by the same state, I mean whether you're hydrated or not hydrated, exercised or not exercised, gone to the toilet or not gone to the toilet. So it's just got to be the same time of day, because it's the weight change that is the most important thing, as opposed to someone's actual weight. So say if you're weighing at 12 p.m. every day, your weight still would have changed 5.75 kilos from 12 p.m. when you started to 12 p.m. when you finish, if that makes sense. So the weight change is still the same, because you will have those variations because the body's pushing the food through every day. And if people are looking at body fat measurements, I'm an exercise physiologist, sports dietitian and clinical dietitian. What I found with body fat measurements is you're often best not to do it first thing in the morning, because you're dehydrated and it takes a couple of hours or at least a couple of glasses of water to get hydrated. So you'll see your body fat levels, if you're using those scales, the bioelectrical impedance scales or any of the other sort of contraptions for measuring body fat, they can actually be a little bit higher because you're dehydrated in the morning. But on the other hand, if you measure the same time, it's not that number that really matters, it's how much it changes. So weight-wise, first thing in the morning, and body fat-wise, you're probably better to do it after you've hydrated a little bit. But obviously, if you, an example would be like if you've got a water bottle, right, and you drink this much water, well, that weight, whether it's in your hands on the scales or it's in your tummy, it's going to be on the scales, if that makes sense. So weight when you're empty, but body fat when you're hydrated, because body fat is just a ratio of what our lean body mass is, which is majority water, and our body fat is, which is has very little water in it. So I always think about fat loss. If you think of basketballs, right, if we took your measurements, if you lost body fat, you'd be losing basketballs. So on the scales, you don't always see a huge weight shift, but you'll see your measurements really come down. And if you're losing just water mass, you'll see shot puts. So you do a measurement and your measures don't really change, but your weight comes off the scale. So what we're actually aiming for is to lose the basketballs, or, you know, the weight around the middle. And you want the weight on the scales, but secondary to getting the weight off the middle. So muscle is literally double the weight of body fat. So
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, it's good.
Awesome.
No, I loved it. And now I get to continue on. So it's good.
Thank you. Well, best of luck. Can't wait to see you commentating on Channel 7. And
I've got one more day to go tomorrow. I don't do the actual game, but I'm there from 2 o'clock till 4 o'clock in the studio tomorrow. So one final time with the guys and girls before I'm back at Clubland, man, officially. So,
and on the other side again, so you've been from coach, player, media and then back to coaching. So you're back
And
to
that's
being
it.
interviewed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and now I get to growl at the media and stop talking to me, sort of thing. So
Yeah.
it's a funny game, but now looking forward to it. Actually, looking forward to getting stuck into it.
I must say, I did see that angry face the other day in that picture of you. That was hilarious. So
That's not
I'm
me.
glad I've got no, that's not you. I've got the good side of you while you're still on the commentating. It's when you're coaching that we've got to be scared.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you again.
Okay. No,
And yeah, chat
thank you.
soon.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Look at my